Hello guys, Gennady here. Welcome to Software Development with You. Today is the first video in ABPKit Framework Development Series, a series in which I share how ABPKit is developed, which problems we try to solve, and what solutions we find for the problems we try to solve, be those good or bad. In case you've missed the intro video, be sure to check it, because in it I explain what's the point of the ABPKit Dev series, what it is wanted to achieve, and also what you are to expect to get from it. So be sure to check it out. If you already did, let's dive straight in with what we'll be doing today. So today we'll start rewriting one of the core feature of ABPKit, and actually writing it from scratch. So we will see the logic between each decision that was made. So one of the main feature is that as a client I want to be able to load a particular filter list, and this is a very high level requirement. As you see there below are some more detailed requirements, but we will stick for the moment with the most top one, because from this definition what we'll want first to understand what is actually a filter list. And for content blocking, a filter list or a blocking list is actually a simple list that contains the filtering rules, and those rules then are used to perform the actual content blocking. And on Apple side, more specifically, let's see, a filter list, or how it's also called here, we see blocker list, is actually a JSON array that contains an array of rules object that then are composed from trigger and action, and also then further are different parameters and so on. But for us at the moment it's not very important to dive deeper in understanding what is actually, let's say, one blocking rule, because one of the things that ABPKit also does is that it will inject the given blocker list or filter list in WK WebView or Safari, and actually those engines requires for us to pass the raw version of the blocker list, so actually the JSON format. So how we do get the list, then actually we need in this form to also pass it further. So for the moment there is no big benefit in trying to model this JSON. We can think of it just as a JSON object, a plain string, kind of like this. So let's start very simple with defining what is actually a filter list for us, and we'll say filter list for us will be a string, and this string will contain the JSON format. We will go with this. Of course it's very simplistic, and there aren't also, let's say, other constraints around this, how it actually should look. But as I said, the filter list is actually, or filter rule is kind of more complicated, and right now it doesn't help very much us to be digging deeper in how actually a filter list works. For now we'll treat it just as a JSON that can be loaded. So next, in more details, what as a client I want from ABPKit. I want to be able to load a predefined filter list, and a predefined filter list is actually ABP predefined. Let's write it here, and it means that we as a framework already provide some filter list that clients can use straight away. And let's say a filter list for US region, for Russian region, and I don't know, for UK region. And as you can imagine, those are a predefined filter list, one for US, another for Russia, another for UK, that as a client you will want to select one of those that you will want to load. The next one is, besides the predefined filter list, it will be very nice that as a client I will be able to make use of the functionality of ABPKit when I want to load a custom filter list. And a custom filter list, let's say I have my own server from which I can load a filter list, and it will be really nice if I can tell ABPKit, please load the filter list from this URL, or if I have it bundled in the app, please load it from this path. So kind of very simple and a nice additional feature. Also, as a client, I want to be able to specify from where I want to load the filter list, from remote or from application bundle. And this is actually a very, let's say, a good requirement from client perspective. One, you will want explicitly to use a already stored version, or you will want to load a fresh version from the remote. Because let's say you will have some custom filter list, for example, that you can bundle right now, but you don't yet have a server from where you want to load the filter list. So yeah, very simple requirement. Then the last one is that when as a client, when I use a predefined filter list, I want to be able to select between a filter list with acceptable ads added or not. A filter list with acceptable ads is actually a filter list that has some exceptions added to it. So with those exceptions will actually will not apply or will not filter like given URLs or something like this. Let's say you have a whitelisted domain or so, and it will not be filtered. So we should provide a way for the client to select between a filter list with acceptable ads and a filter list without acceptable ads, because at the end of the day those two are different filter lists. So with those requirements in place, I hope you understood the gist of it, and I laid it out and understandably good, let's say, in this way. So let's start straight away defining a domain for this feature, how it will look like. And we will start with very simplistic design, and for the beginning you might say that it's not very well scalable and so on, but I want to do this on purpose to have some ground, and then from there improve to a better design. So with what should we start? Well, for the moment we know what to implement, but we don't know how to implement it. So if this is the case, it would be very nice to start with a protocol, because the protocol actually defines what you want to do, but not how, because we don't yet know how to implement it. And we'll see in the further videos that there are even more requirements that will appear down the road. So let's define a protocol that will load a filter list, and we can call it filter list loader or something like this, but kind of it's very specific what it does. It loads a filter list, and we'll start with a simple function called load. And since, as we see, that we load from remote or from bundle, this will most probably be executed asynchronously, and then we'll go with a completion handler in this case. And of course the load can fail or be successful, so let's wrap it in a result, and the success case will have the filter list, or otherwise we'll have the error, and this will be the definition of our load function. And with current definition, actually let's make sure we can build, yeah, everything good. With current definition we kind of have something already in place. The client can load a filter list, but however client cannot specify a predefined filter list or a custom filter list or from where to load. It will load one type of filter list straight away, because as you can see there are no options to choose from. And before moving on to this, let's refactor this a bit to be more clear, and we'll say load the result to contain this load result, and then let's have also load completion. That will be this, add it with this. And of course, this is not critical to do or something like this. This is just for the sake of readability. I see this reading much better, and then when we'll have actual concrete classes that will conform to this protocol, then we'll have the just load completion, not the ugly kind of closure definition. So yes, we have a base from where to go on. Let's start to think about loading a predefined filter list. And to load a predefined filter list, we will kind of need an identifier for this. As you can see here that we have US, Russian, UK, maybe not necessarily only by, let's say by country, maybe we'll have some, I know, privacy filter list. I know, we will need some kind of identifier for it. And the most simplest form of identifier we can start with is the string. It is most relaxed. We can put anything in the string, and we can start with the string and see where we can go and what will be actually the problems with using a string. So let's say for identifier, here we have identifier, yeah, I hope it's correct, and we have the string. And with this implementation, as we can see, we can pass here. Let's actually create here an implementation, and but not necessarily. Let's say filter list loader. Let's put it something like this, and we want to say filter list load something like, just to see the examples of how we would call this. And we can put here English, Russian, UK, privacy, whatever. We can make the call here with the string. And as you can see with this, we can kind of get it working. Of course, the problems here is that the client will not know what options he has or she has to choose from, because you will have to read into the documentation and see what string you need to pass into the load in order to load a particular filter list. And this can be problematic and not very developer friendly, user friendly. And at the same time, in this string you can put everything almost, and we will have to fail and to check and so on. Basically, we will have some unvalid data that can be passed to the method. But for the moment, let's say it's good enough. Let's see if with this implementation we can tackle the custom filter list. And yeah, for ABP we used some identifiers. Yes, something like this. But for custom filter list we cannot have some identifiers, because inside the framework we don't know what custom identifiers the client can put in. So when we want to load a custom filter list, for the moment we see that we have remote options and bundle options, and maybe as a custom we can specify the path. And let's say for remote, as a custom we can say https custom.com, and we can use it. And actually this is kind of a more raw form of a predefined filter list, because let's say we will have predefined filter list US that we passed further, but actually inside the framework we will transform this, let's say, to something like this, US filter list, whatever, let's say, or maybe let's say filter lists US, something like this. Let's say that we will load for the US, we will make this call, for Russia another. And actually, as you can see, we hide under the identifier US Russian for the case of predefined. what actual HTTP we used to call, and with custom, as we don't have identifiers, we use straight away the raw form. So as you can see here, we are kind of okay. And for the bundle case, we can have custom.json, and we can use it inside. And actually for the predefined filter list, it will be the same, as we'll have the US, let's put it another way, US, and inside we will bundle to US filter list JSON. So again, actually our identifiers, predefined identifiers, hide or abstract the actual path into the bundle or the actual HTTP request. So with this identifier, of course, the identifier is maybe it's not a very good name here. Let's actually say something like for source, because actually it's a source from where we load the filter list. And with this we can have the predefined and at the same time the custom source, because previously we have the name identifier and custom JSON is not actually an identifier here, as you can see. So good enough for the moment. Let's remove this to not have, or whatever, we have error here, just that we are doing some testing here. Good. The next thing what we want to do, let's actually tackle the point 3, that we need to choose from where we want to load, from remote or from bundle. And the most simplest one would be to have a Boolean, because Booleans are very good and can solve almost anything. And we can have here the Boolean. So basically with this, client can specify the source, be it predefined in ABP or the custom, and then specify if this is bundled or not. And if it's bundled, we'll try to load from the bundle, and if not, we'll try to load from remote. And in the case of, let's say we specify here US is bundled true, and then inside the framework most probably we will check if it's US, and then if it's bundled we will map this identifier to a path in the bundle, and if it's false then we will map this identifier to an HTTP request. So basically it will look something like this. We have US identifier plus is bundled, then we will map to US filter list JSON, most probably locally, and otherwise if not bundled, if the Boolean is false, then we'll map to some remote filter lists, US, JSON, whatever, something like this. So with this we kind of can select from what to load. And then for custom source, basically user will have to specify HTTP and JSON, but and the path for the bundle. But actually it's kind of, if we have custom filter list.json but we specify that it's not bundled, then we'll have an error because we'll try to load with bundle path from the remote, and this is kind of troublesome. We already can see that we will have to make sure that clients understand that if you set the bundle to false or true, that you will need to specify the correct source. If those are not mapped correctly, then there will be troubles. Of course, we can cover it up with some meaningful errors, but maybe we can do better and do not have this unrepresentable state. But for the moment, I think we are good with this, if it's bundled or not. But actually I think we've missed one thing, is that we will need to know if a source is custom, let's say, if it's custom or not. Because we'll need to know how to treat the source. So if we have a source here, let's say like this, and we have is custom set to true, then we know that we need to use this string as a custom source. But here if we have false and we have the identifier US, then we need to know that this is a predefined source, and we need to map the string to bundle path or to HTTP request. And already, as you can see, there can be some problems. What if this let's say is false, but here is the path from the JSON, and the other way around, that it's true, but here we have the US and we don't know how to map it. Again, we can have some errors, but as I said earlier, it's not the best. But for the moment, let's say it's good and move further. Then we'll start refactoring slowly. So the last part here we have is about having a filter list with acceptable ads or not. And I guess you already got it. What we'll have to do is to have another Boolean is AA, let's say a Boolean. And basically if this, let's actually add here is AA, let's say false. So we have, let's make it actually be correct. So for this combination that we have US and we say that it's predefined and that it's not bundled, so remote, and that is it does not contain AA. So what this mapping will be? So most probably in this case we'll have for US, in case of the remote, we'll have two HTTP requests for US that will have US plus is AA. Then most probably we'll map to some HTTP request, let's say filter list US with AA .json, and otherwise if this is not AA, then most probably we will request a filter list without A. Let's make it just simple, it's without A, and it will be the same for the bundle. We'll have just this and we'll search in the bundle or not. So yes, basically we have the identifier as a string, and then with booleans we determine how to use this identifier to load from bundled or remote, and is it AA or not. Good. But then what about custom source? If it's a custom source, does it make sense to have the AA flag? Well, actually not, because this AA is specified only for the predefined filter list. So actually it's redundant for custom source. It doesn't make sense, and this is already one more problem here, that we have some redundant parameters that does not apply in all of the cases. But nevertheless, we have an initial, let's say, a brainstorming implementation, and we kind of understand more about what are the constraints and what are the problems. So let's actually identify more problems about this design and then try to refactor it. So as we said, first thing first, just using here a string causes the one problem is that for the predefined ABP, client will not be aware what options he can choose from. You will have to look into the documentation and see actually what correct strings you need to pass. Then again, this string is in strict correlation with this custom source. Client needs to set the correct combination between the string and the boolean, and it's already getting kind of tricky. Then the next part, that if we use just this identifier and we have those three booleans are kind of a configuration, let's say, and of course this looks not that bad. But what if we need what will have some different types of filter list, that there will be something more just AA or whatever? What if there will be other two configurations? Then we'll have to change the API and break the clients, because we added some new configuration. Maybe the client doesn't care maybe at all about it, so this is a problem. Another problem I see is that booleans like this, those already contains two states, true and false, and we'll force us in our implementation to consider both cases even if we don't want to. What I mean by this, let's say we add a new filter list source. Let's say that we have a Romanian filter list, but we don't yet have a remote implementation for it. We have only the bundled implementation, but still, because this is a Boolean, clients can pass here a Romanian and say that is bundled to false, and will force the framework to try to load from the remote service, but it's not implemented. We cannot load this filter list from a remote source. So actually we tell through our APIs that yes, we can load this filter list from remote, but actually we can't. So we are lying in a way and we will throw an error. And the same, let's say, for is AA or not. What if we implemented first the simple filter list without AA, and we will deliver the AA implementation in 2 months or so, but our current API tells that as a client you can load a filter list with AA. You can set here true without any problems, because this is how Boolean works. It already forces you to consider 2 states, not just once. So as you can see, there are a lot of problems. Maybe are some more, but it's already kind of clear that this is problematic. So let's start refactoring this slowly, one by one. And the first thing I think we'll need to do is to get rid of this string identifier, and we'll have this, let's say, US, RU, UK, and so on. And this is basically options list from which you can select. And let's refactor these options to an enum that will be more will put constraints on what are available, what you can select, and at the same time will provide documentation in code straight away, because the client will know from actually what sources are available for loading. And let's say this enum, and let's say filter list source, and let's add 2 simple cases, US and Russian. Okay, and then we will want to add it here, but if we add it here, then client will not be there will not be no more possibility to specify the custom source, because we force this to predefined source. So let's think of how can we refactor this to contain both ABP predefined and custom source. And actually it's option, you can choose from ABP predefined or from custom source. And you can see this straight away that it's also an option list and an enum. So let's rename this to ABP specific filter list enum, and then let's create another filter list source. And I guess you already understood where this is going. We'll have an ABP case and a custom case here. So then we already have it here, and then we can use associated types and actually embed the more lower level or more specific filter list that clients can select from. And here we'll have ABP filter list source. Xcode is not helping me. So we have this, and we still yet have to allow clients to specify some custom path. And let's create another type. Let's have filter list path, and it's for the moment just a string. Let's use it. And for custom we can have this, of course. And now let's see how our API changes. Here we can select from ABP or custom, and with ABP, and we can select from Russian or US, and you already can see that we force clients to use the filter list that we can handle, but not some undefined filter lists. And also it's already provide documentation in code. Clients can see what filter lists are available there. This is not just some obscure string that you need to think what actually you should pass on. And then with custom we can specify here still some custom JSON that we want to load from bundle. So with this we actually got rid of this boolean. We don't need anymore it because we specify what type of source we have from choosing between ABP and custom here in this case. So let's leave it like this, and I think with this we already solved one problem. We removed the boolean, and we've also have more strongly typed sources for ABP predefined ones that we can handle only those, because we provide only those sources to use, and we don't need to throw errors that these the past source is undefined, because we specify, we force the client to use the sources with which the framework can actually work. Okay, and let's move on with bundle, and let's try to also remove this with the same technique, with an enum. And as I said previously, we may end up in an issue when we have a filter list source that is available through to be loaded from bundle, but it's not yet available to be loaded from remote. And with this boolean right now, we are forced to consider the both cases, because this is how boolean works. We have two states, and it will be very nice to split the bundle and remote separately, and those two filter lists can evolve in completely separation. Let's say in bundle we'll have 10 filter list sources available, but in remote we have only 2, and those can be specified separately, and there the client will not end up in the case when it will specify a source, a bundle filter list source, and it will try to load it from remote while it's not available. So let's try actually do the same, and let's see how will we tackle it. Basically, we will need to see where do we want to put this to be as a bundle or not. And I think we'll put it at the most top level. And what I mean by this, let's rename those to bundled filter list. And let's say that those can, if clients use these, then all of the filter lists will be loaded from bundle, because internally we will map to the type bundle filter list, and we will load straight away from the bundle. And then we will need yet another enum filter list source, and we'll have the bundle case and then the remote one, and we can put it here. The remote is yet to be defined, and let's put it there. So how our API will look right now. So first thing first, when client will try to use a source, you will have to specify from where you want to load this source, from bundle or from remote. And currently we've implemented the bundle, and so let's say like this, from bundle. Then you choose, is it custom or is it ABP predefined? We'll select ABP predefined, and then from there we actually choose the actual filter list. Let's say Russia. So let's do the same for remote. Let's complete the implementation. For the moment, at the beginning state, those are in a way, let's say, duplicated, but they duplicated only from the reading state point, let's say, because you read those enums and like you'll see, well, those are kind of duplicated, but actually those are for different purposes. One is for bundle filter list source, and other is for loading from remote. And now we can evolve those two completely separated. We can add here one more case, and it will not impact the remote. And we can add here one more case here, let's say UK, and we don't have to treat it in the remote part. This is the beauty of it, that we can evolve the sources completely separately. And you will see what I mean. If we have, as you can see here, we have the UK, and if client chooses to select from remote, we have remote, we have ABP, and here we don't have UK, because as I said, we yet don't support loading UK filter list from remote, so we don't provide that option. If you want to load UK, you will have to specify to be loaded from bundle. So with this implementation, we've got rid of this boolean. One more to go. Good. We'll have to get rid of also of AA option. And I think you already understood where we will be going. We will create yet another enums that will be used to load either AA or non-AA. And as we saw earlier, AA or acceptable ads filter lists are only for ABP predefined sources, not for custom sources. And if we look into it, we have here custom and here also custom. So most probably we'll have to change it in bundled and remote, but we will have to specify with AA or without AA. And one more thing that I missed, you see here we have custom and here we have also custom for remote. Previously with the string, those were put in one place and we'll use only with strings. But now we can evolve those two separately. Let's say for remote, the custom can be source can be more complicated, or in bundle it can be just a pet or whatever in this way. So we can evolve those separately. But nevertheless, let's move back to solve the AA case. So as I said, we'll have to change it here, and the client will have to choose here if it's AA or not. And let's actually add it something like this with AA and without AA. And as previously mentioned, we will want to evolve the filter list with AA and without AA separately, because we can have the case on a filter list, let's say for UK, we have only the filter list without AA, and we don't want to provide the option to select with AA because it's not in place, and we don't want just to provide the option and then throw an error and say no, we specified you can use it but actually you can't. So it will be kind of actually a lie. So I think we can leave it like this, and we'll move those options to yet two enums. Let's create two more, and it will be bundle ABP with AA filter list source and without AA. We can remove this and we can remove this. And of course you can say, well, those are yet not duplicated. Well, not quite. We can have it like this or like this. This for now it's just the coincidence that those are duplicated, and let's remove this to show that actually it's not duplicated. This is the case where well, actually let's revert it like this. This is the case when we have the filter list with without AA available for UK, but with AA it's not yet available. Please come later if you want for it to be here. So let's complete it here with AA and here without AA, and then we are good, we are covered, and we need to do basically the same for remote. Let's do it. Here we have the remote filter list source. We just will have to change it here, something like this. And let's put it here, and let's put it here. And actually, let's say to be different from bundle, right now only the US filter list can be loaded from remote, and you can see how those are actually different in purpose. Yes, by code and by names, as you can see, those are kind of duplications, but again, it's just from the reading standpoint, but in functionality, this is not duplication. And let's see how it will look in our API. So we'll have the remote, then we'll go to choose from, and it actually doesn't help me. Let's see what we have here, remote, and we should be able to select from with AA or without. And actually the problem is here, remote ABP filter list source with AA. Yeah, we should be able to select from ABP and what happens? It doesn't Xcode for really doesn't doesn't want to play nicely here, but let's do it with AA and US. Is it good? Maybe I have one more parenthesis here. No, it's actually everything fine. Is it because of this? Ah, I see. The previous Boolean messed some things up. So we have here we specify that we want to load from remote, then we specify that we want an ABP predefined filter list, then we choose from which bucket we want to select, with AA or without AA, and then right now we have only the US options. If we will want to load let's say Russian, this is only available in bundle. We'll have to go with bundled course and load it from here. So with this, we removed also yet another Boolean, and so right now we have this API that we specify everything that we want just through one argument, through enums, and we can easily add another configuration if it's wanted. We can add here another case, 2, 3 more, whatever. We don't have to add another arguments, and then we can evolve different let's say bundled filter list sources. We can evolve them apart from remote, and we can evolve with AA sources apart from the ones that do not have, and so on. So as you can see, kind of a tree-like structure shaped in place. Like we have filter list source on top, and then we have bundled or remote, and then bundle splits in AA, without A, and at the same time remote with A and without A. And basically, when client select a source, he moves in this tree, basically selecting which node until he reach a leaf when where actually the actual filter list is chosen. So I think we are pretty much done. We've defined our domain API of loading filter list. And main things about designing the domain, one of the important things is actually, as in this case we saw, is to make an explicit API and tell what you support and what you don't support. Don't make, or I think it's not that good to make a too generic API where you tell that you can handle a lot of things but then throw errors because it's undefined. And basically it's all about trying to remove unrepresentable state from your APIs, because previously we had a lot of unrepresentable state and we'll have to show errors. But with refactored design, we actually constrain the clients to specify only the correct state, and actually the Xcode will constrain to specify only the correct state with which the frameworks work. And then, as we will see in our, it helps us, framework developers, as we develop, that we don't have to check for valid source. As we will see, we already know that this is valid. We don't have to do any validation, throw errors, do tries, and so on and throws. We don't need to have this because we already, with our domain design, we forced clients to pass the correct information that we need for the framework to work. So this is pretty much it. Don't hesitate to tell in the comments what you like about this design, what you think is bad on it, what future problems might appear. Any feedback, critique will be very, very valuable, and you will actually be able to, let's say, contribute to this code base evolving with your feedback. So thank you. We're staying to the end of the video. See you next time. Bye bye.